What's up? I know what time it is. Got an amazing guest on live who she broke into tech a few years ago, and since then has helped well over 1,000 others become educated to be able to break into the tech industry as well. So she is someone who was first trained by her husband as well as a small team of others. They showed her how to break into the tech industry. And then, literally, after that training, they decided to take that exact same training to be able to break into the tech industry as well. For those that are interested in a career, of course, with being a Linux administrator or a cloud administrator, both of those being careers in tech that entry level through the training of their YellowTail Tech program can land you a role starting somewhere between $80,000 and $90,000. Somebody said, "See how early I am yet again." That's funny. But anyone that's interested in getting a career through their program, that starts people at, y'all know I always talk about six figures. But one of the things that I love about YellowTail Tech, which is a program that we're going to talk about, is that they are much more modest and conservative, realizing that, yes, some people can start out with a role over six figures, but they like to be more specific, be more conservative. And they say that most of their students post their program that are landing jobs between $80,000 and $90,000 a year starting out. So we got some cool stuff to talk about. Again, make sure that y'all have y'all's questions ready. Make sure y'all have y'all notepads ready, because it's going to be a really, really great conversation, just really about her story, her testimony, as well as everything that they've been doing to help countless others be able to get into the tech industry. So a couple quick heads up, because people are going to be asking how y'all can get the discount link, because yes, there is a discount link, $500 off discount link. Actually, all you have to do is comment the word Linux admin or cloud admin. If anybody struggles to spell Linux, then just comment cloud. We all know how to spell cloud, I'm assuming. Comment cloud admin, and myself or somebody on the Tech is New Black team will send over to you the information for the discount link. So that way y'all can go ahead and sign up for YellowTail Tech and break into the tech industry as a cloud administrator or systems administrator. That being said, seeing a lot of people in the comments. Somebody said, "Greetings from Aruba." Hey, you live in life. You on vacation mode right now. I'm happy that you're here, though. I'm happy that you're here. So look, y'all, it's going to be a really amazing conversation. Make sure y'all are putting y'all questions down in the question box down below in preparation for these questions. What's up, recruiter cousin? Shanae, for those that don't know, I'm actually wearing her shirt right now, Negotiate Your Salary. So we got the whole family. Hey, look, so really great conversation we're going to have. Make sure y'all got y'all's questions ready, because this is definitely the person to be helping y'all answer your questions when it comes to being a cloud administrator or Linux administrator. I already see some people commenting cloud admin, Linux admin. We love it. We love it. All right, so look, let's go ahead and jump into it. Paloma, thank you so much for being on here.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, excited. Thank you for coming on and really being able to share your stories. I know this is going to help a lot of people. And so let's jump into it. People are going to want to know. So we'll start off here. What have you done in the tech industry in terms of like what roles have you done? I know that YellowTail Tech teaches cloud administration as well as Linux, but what have you done in tech, and like what are some of the different roles and positions that you've had?
Okay. So I started off as a Linux system administrator. That was my entry point into IT. I worked for, my first job was with a big corporation. And then my second role was an engineer level role as a Linux engineer. Because since the beginning, I kind of charted a path on what I wanted to learn. And I used certifications as a way to guide me through that. So I became a Red Hat certified engineer pretty soon, and that helped me scale my career from the beginning. And then another role I held was a cloud security engineer, where I worked for a very large and global corporation, Sony actually, in their global cybersecurity team. And basically what I did there was engineer and architect solutions to gather logs and intelligence from all of their operations in the cloud. 2 years into that, I was promoted and I became a principal cloud engineer.
Yeah, I was telling you, we were talking earlier before we started this stream. Oh, can you adjust yourself a little bit on the YouTube and LinkedIn side of things? So yeah,
Here. Yes.
yeah. But
Is that
we were
better?
talking earlier. Oh yeah, no, that's perfect. That's perfect. We just want to be centered on both. But we were talking earlier, and if anybody checks out her LinkedIn, y'all will see that she didn't just break into the tech industry, but she scaled pretty exceptionally fast. And that was the thing that really stood out to me, because y'all know I talk a lot about like not just getting in the tech industry, but also scaling in the industry, really making your mark in this space. And that was something that I noticed about her that she was able to accomplish. Shortly after getting into the tech industry, scaling from a relatively entry level type of role to a principal level role in under 2 years, which is incredible, really incredible. We're going to talk a little bit about that, a little bit about how YellowTail Tech sets up their alumni to be prepared to scale. So not just get a job in the tech industry, not just sustain themselves, but also be able to scale. But first, we'd love to kind of go back a little bit, Paloma, and talk about what you were doing before getting in tech. Like, what were you pursuing, and what happened that led you to say, hey, you know what, I need to go ahead and get into the tech industry? Just like somebody said, she busted hinges off the door into tech. That's funny, Jalen. Yes. So what were you doing before tech, and like what was it that sparked the interest for you to be like, you know what, I'm going to pursue a career in the tech industry?
All right, I'll give you the story, but I'll tell you it involves love and different careers and many things.
A whole rom-com.
Yes, yes. I can write a book about this. So I have a first career, which is social sciences. And in that career, I kind of touched on policy, project management for like government organizations. I also spent some time at the National Statistics Bureau in my country, in my home country. And that particular job exposed me to tech from a project management angle. So basically, my role in that case was to procure equipment with the tech team, with the IT department. I kind of was aware of what they were hiring for, what were the qualities of the people that they were hiring. We had to hire a lot internationally, so I had an idea of what were different roles and avenues in tech. I had an idea of what was the earning potential. Also, I went to like a couple trainings that had to do mostly with data, because I worked at the Statistics Bureau. So they were always trying to get people inside to understand how to exploit data from census and surveys and stuff like that. So I had that minimal training. I was absorbing things pretty quickly. So I was like, I am good at this, but that's not my thing. I'm a social scientist. Yeah. So fast forward a couple of years, I meet my boyfriend, then fiance, who wants me to migrate to the US with him. And I'm like, oh God, what am I going to do in the US? Like, as a social scientist, like, especially when you work with government and policy and stuff like that, like, the earning potential is not very high, especially in the US. And in order for me to do it, I would have to go back to school, learn about the local laws and stuff like that. I would probably have to sit for a certification. So I saw like that could take me back to school for 4 years. And I'm like trying to start a family in my late 20s. Yeah. So I start to look at other possibilities. I told Juvie, well, maybe I should become a nutritionist. And he's like, well, you can't go from a low-paying career to another low-paying career.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm like, okay, I give you points there. Yeah. So then I tell him, well, the other thing that I know I am good at is anything that has to do with computers. And he's like, well, that's my field. I can help you there. If you don't want to take help from me, you can also talk to people in my network. so that you can learn about different paths, especially paths that don't require you to go back to school. Because again, I was in my late 20s and nobody was trying to get into college debt. So, like, he literally set up interviews with a bunch of people so that I could hear what they were doing, what it took them to get in. I had him as a resource, of course. He does have proper schooling. Like he has a degree in information management systems, but he knew that alone does not guarantee you a job when you finish, and doesn't guarantee you a high paying job. So they convinced me that certifications were the way to go. Basically, at that point, there were several certifications that paid even better than they pay today, actually. And they were like, if you can understand some basic concepts and we'll try to get you through those, then you should sit for a certification in 6 months. And I'm like, wait a minute, 6 months? And mind you, I was pregnant. So,
oh my God.
So that was another aggravant. So I was pregnant, and I did that all at the same time. I grew a baby, had a baby, and changed careers. So I took their advice. I said, I am going to become a Linux system administrator. There's a certification out there called the Red Hat Certified System Administrator that has a lot of industry recognition. So I'm going to do that. And that's basically going to guide what I study. So I started to study before YellowTail existed formally, of course, before online training was so easily available and so cheap. Like, you could find 5-day training and stuff like that, but that wasn't going to take me anywhere because I didn't know the basics. So what did I do? I went to Barnes and Nobles. I grabbed all the books that said Linux. Literally every book that said Linux on the front page, I got it. And even worse, I read them. So I was consuming a bunch of information, things that were necessary, things that weren't necessary. Sometimes I would get the shiny object syndrome where I would, I don't know, go to a meetup, like a live meetup in DC, and hear that I should be learning Ruby. And then I'm like, wait, I should be learning Ruby. Maybe I need to get a Ruby course or buy something on Udemy. So that kind of distracted me. But because I had the certification as a North, and by the way, I scheduled my certification when they said, if basically Juby's network told me, if you understand these concepts, like these 4 or 5 concepts, you can go and book your cert. So I did that. I went, I tried to understand those 5 concepts with books, with YouTube, with this and that. And then I said, okay, I'm going to give myself 6 months to get that certification. If I have to move it because I'm not ready, I'll move it. But having that date in front of me kept me real honest.
If I could interject real quick, it's crazy to me, and I hope y'all notice this as well. I know when I had spoken with Juby, and Juby's her husband, he's the one that she's talking about. When I spoke with him a couple times, he had told me how studious you are and how like you really will like research and read and do all of this. But he didn't break down to me just exactly how studious you are. But what I really love about everything that you're sharing, and I hope all of y'all are catching this as well, is how she did all of this work. Like, you did all of this work, read all of these different books. Some of the things you read were valuable. Some of the things you read were outdated, but you really consumed so much information. And the beauty of it, and we're going to get to this, but the beauty of it is how instead of anybody else having to do all the stuff you did, reading all of these different books, going out of their way, that y'all have set up YellowTail Tech in such a way that it has exactly what people need. Not a
Exactly.
bunch of outdated stuff, not things that don't really matter,
We
not
removed
things
the
that'll send
guesswork.
people here or there. Yeah, yeah, and that's so incredible. But so I so part of me, I hurt for you, like in the past, all the stuff you were reading, but I also appreciate you doing that work. I appreciate just the knowledge that Juby has and what y'all have been able to kind of package together to, just like you said, remove the guesswork so people can literally just learn what's being provided to them through YellowTail Tech to get the proper information to go ahead and start their journey. So I just had to say that, like, it's amazing that you did so much, but I appreciate it. I'm sure everybody, it paid off to help so many other people, not just you, but others.
Yeah, like I had to learn many ways to do something. When I'm building content, I can choose what's the easiest way to teach this, what's the easiest way a newbie can learn something. And I have to mention that one of the magical things about YellowTail Tech is that we aren't a company that went out and raised funds. Like we're not VC backed or anything like that, because we didn't even start with a business plan. Like at our inception, we were just helping people in our community, literally, like from my family, Juby's family, then family of family, friends of family. Like they just heard about, hey, Paloma went and studied for this cert without any previous tech knowledge and passed the cert in 6 months, got a job in 9 or 10 months.
Fire.
And they were like, wait, maybe I can do this. So my brother had just migrated to the US and was like, maybe I should consider this. And I convinced him. Like we were living about 60 miles apart. Like he was somewhere really far in Virginia, I was in Maryland, and we would meet up during the weekend to study. And I would give him my flashcards and notes and stuff, and he would just take that and learn. Yeah. He was able to transition. He actually worked at Geico doing customer service work, and they allowed him to transition into the IT department. So of course they lowball him because they knew he didn't have experience. It was like a chance that they were giving him. He excelled there, and a year later he moved on, and of course went and made top dollars. So then the community kept hearing about this, and we trained people like that, basically for free, until we actually said, hey, wait a minute, we already have slides, we already have like a whole methodology to train people. Let's offer this as a business. So we've existed as a business now for over 9 years. We've trained over 1,000 people. Our first program was that Linux for Job program, which is super successful. I have to mention that we started like with a physical training center in Maryland. We had 3 classrooms there, and that was a big. It was great in a way because we were training for a real demand that still exists, by the way.
Yeah, exactly.
In the DC, Maryland, and Virginia region, because of all the government presence and because of all the cloud providers that have data centers there. So we were able to place a lot of people into clear jobs and corporate jobs, all sorts. But then in 2020, with COVID, we weren't able to offer live training because we couldn't have more than 10 people in our office at any time. And you know, we all went through it. So fortunately, we were in the process of testing like hybrid training where we could have people from other states join. So we pivoted and went into online training, but still offering live classes. So we don't offer like self-paced anything. We don't really believe in that. But that allowed us to grow exponentially because we were limited to just training people in the DC, Maryland region. And now we're able to train people all over the United States.
Yo, that's so far. I love how you mentioned that y'all trained over 1,000 people. And one of the things, somebody just popped in with a question. We're going to get to the questions very shortly, y'all. But one question I do want to acknowledge, someone said, where did she get her certification? I came in late. For those that are popping in just recently, so Paloma, she was able to get into the tech industry via, really a lot of her, the reading, research, her own studying, all of the books that she read, but also a lot of the instruction and training she got from her husband who had already been in tech, as well as many of his colleagues that were all very trained and certified in the industry themselves. But after literally them coming together, giving her direction and her doing the work for her to break into tech, they realized that they had the tools to be able to help other people. And so everything that she did, as well as some of the additional things, is literally ended up being the ingredients that they put together to create what is now YellowTail Tech. Like she mentioned, they've trained over 1,000 people. But some other things that I was able to find out after doing a little bit of digging, a little bit of research, is that, and I'm kind of reading off through the notes of some of the things that I put down, that they're actually they're landed in the 452 of the Inc. 5,000 fastest growing companies in the United States. Y'all know we talk a lot about the importance of a quality educational program. You know, one of the things that's really quality about them is that they're actually A+ accredited by the Better Business Bureau. So like, to be I'm gonna tell y'all, like, this is gonna sound embarrassing. I never got any A+ in school. So that sounds really dope that they were A+ certified by the Better Business Bureau, which says a lot about just really the testimonials, the feedback from their alumni, from their graduates. And speaking of course, one of the number one questions that people typically ask is, hey, you know, what's the likelihood that I'll get a job after I complete this program? Now, of course, at the end of the day, a lot of that has to do with you and the work that you put in. But even that being said, percentage-wise, roughly 70% of their students are hired and break into the tech industry after 6 months of their program, and then roughly 80% after a year. So they have a roughly like a 8 out of or 4 out of 5 or 8 out of 10 ratio, which is a really incredibly high ratio when it comes to landing people jobs in the tech industry. I'm gonna be real, that's actually higher than any other program that I've seen, which is probably part of the reason why they have such a high rating with the Better Business Bureau. Part of the reason why they are like top 500 of the Inc. 5,000 fastest growing companies in the United States. So they've really been killing it, crushing it, helping a lot of people be able to land incredible high-paying jobs in the tech industry. Most people starting between $80,000 and $90,000 a year. And like she mentioned, them training people in Linux administrating as Linux administrators or cloud administrators, those are two very, very high in-demand roles in tech. And that's a huge part of the reason why those roles pay so high. But they're very high in demand, but not enough people are able to meet that demand. Not enough people are actually qualified to fulfill those roles. And that's why it's really important.
Fun fact.
Yeah, go ahead.
I have never taken a job that has been unfilled for less than a year. And
wait, you never done what?
I have never gotten a job that has been unfilled, vacant, for less than a year.
Sheesh, that's crazy.
And I have never been replaced in less than a year. So the need for people with Linux and cloud talent is huge. It's huge.
That's wild. That's incredible. I've never heard of anything like that. So I want to make sure y'all ain't missed that.
And ladies, I have a special plea for the ladies here. I have never worked with a female in a technical team. So we really need to invade this space. I know, like I myself know, I didn't grow up looking at women engineers. We didn't see them in our lives. We didn't see them on TV. Anything that mentions somebody that works with computer is, at least for my generation, looked like a nerd or a geek. And that was usually a white male that wore glasses, like nobody that's here probably. But we can really change the makeup of this industry. And I think we should.
I'm putting it here in the comments really quickly because people are asking, for those of y'all that are asking about the role, All you need to do is just comment. I misspelled the word comment, but either comment Linux admin or comment cloud admin. And myself or somebody on the Texas New Black team will send you, they'll respond with a discount link for YellowTail Tech. So that way you can get $500 off their boot camp. Excuse me, not their boot camp, because they're much more than a boot camp, but get $500 off their program. So that way you can pursue a career, literally career like what it is that she's talking about. Paloma, if I can ask really quickly, when you first started, when you got your first job in tech, roughly how much like was your starting pay, and what were you able to scale up to in like that 2-year or 3-year time frame?
It's more than 2 or 3 years, but
yeah. Well, I'm sorry. I was talking about like, I guess when you moved to principal level, but yeah, okay, I guess just overall, yeah. And really just to kind of paint a picture. So people, because some people are going to be like, okay, well, like what did it look like for you in terms of like income wise?
So, you already mentioned that we like to keep the discussion about salary really honest.
Yeah.
I started my career in the DMV. The DMV is the DC area. Cost of living is really high. So I like to caveat that because I know we have students all over the country, and what I can make in DC is not what somebody can make in Louisiana. It's just not the same.
Yeah.
Also, the way we interview is gonna also influence where we fall on the scale for any company. They always have
negotiate your salary.
Yeah, go recruit her cousin. Yeah, so I started at 6 figures. I started at 6 figures, not really high, like 105 or something like that. And then when I was a principal, I was over 200.
That's incredible. Wow, that's amazing. That's really amazing. I'm not gonna lie, I personally have never heard of a role that was in such high demand that when you applied to the role, that there had been an opening for a year, and then whenever you decided to transition to another company, or job hop as we call it today, once you made that move, that it took the company over a year before they were able to get somebody to fill it. That really shows how in demand like literally this career is. And so that's really fire, really dope. I love to hear stuff like that. Just like she said, ladies, y'all know, like, not only are there very few Black and brown people in the tech industry, but percentage wise, that number is even less when we're talking about women. And so percentage wise, only 6% of Black women are in the tech industry, and only 2% of Latin women are make up the tech industry, which is crazy, really crazy. But the beauty of that's not a reflection of that it's harder for people of color, or that it's harder for Black women or Latin women to get in the tech industry. That's more of a reflection of us not really knowing about the opportunities, and us not believing that we belong or we can make it there. And so I love these conversations with people like Paloma. So that way she's like really just a beautiful example of what she was able to do. Not even literally her moving to the United States, not even her initially being born here, that she had all of these setbacks against her, but still through her work, through her due diligence, and that same information of the things that she learned, the same things that they were able to implement into YellowTail Tech, that literally provides those exact same resources to people. So that way other people, and obviously it doesn't matter your ethnicity, it doesn't matter your gender, but still speaking to people that are in the Black and brown communities. I know most of y'all on here, Black and brown, it's like, hopefully her story really inspires a lot of hope into everyone, because y'all know that's really what it's about at the end of the day, us helping people, but also us having a proclivity towards helping those that might feel helpless or might second guess the opportunities that are available to them. So thank you so much, Paloma, for really just you just not just sharing your story, but you going through that grind yourself, so that way you can get into the industry, because it wasn't something that was just a blessing for you, but now it's been a blessing for over 1,000 other people. And so now, being a blessing to everybody that's hearing a lot. So y'all make sure y'all show some love. Give thanks to Paloma just really for her story, her testimony, her sharing her story, and just everything she's done. That's really fire. Really fire.
Yep. I
Like this
also
stuff.
wanted to mention,
Yeah. Mhm.
because you were talking about how we help people scale their careers, and that's
Yeah.
something that's really important for us. We don't only want to train you to get your first job. One of the things that we're absolutely clear about is that a Linux admin, a cloud admin, it's actually a change maker in any
Okay.
company they go work. So we have to train you not to only learn the specific technology we're teaching you at the moment, but for
Mhm.
you to be able to learn new things, because we're like doctors. We're gonna have to continue to learn new things. Like if
Mhm.
I one thing I didn't mention is I have 10 certifications, and it's a little embarrassing.
Sheesh.
But, but some of those are even repeated. So, for instance, I have Red Hat certified system administration on Red Hat 5 and Red Hat 6. I have the engineer on 7 and on 6 and 7. So the reason is because every 2 to 3 years, this technology changes enough so
Yeah.
that you have to keep yourself up to date.
Yeah.
So one of the things that we encounter is that we train mostly adults. Like the people that come to YellowTail tend to be north of 28, though we have younger cases and really successful ones, but the majority is older than 28 years old. They've had a career before, but they left college 8 years ago or 7 years ago. And when they were in college, their life was simple. They were simple students. So then when you
Mhm.
come back to a school as an adult, one of the things that gives our students the most anxiety at the beginning is, I don't even know my learning style. So we have to kind of help them figure out how they're going to manage their time, how they're going to manage, like if they take notes, when they take notes, how do they prepare for classes, all this kind of
Yeah.
things. And basically, that is something that everybody keeps and then brings into work. Because I can assure every one of my students, the day they finish our course or our program, that's not going to be the last day they learn something.
Yeah.
So I credit that for the success that we have. I even see students that finish the program are looking for a job and they're like, "Man, I love the certification process. I want to learn something else." And I'm like,
Yeah.
"Slow down." But
Yo,
who am
that's
I to
fire.
say that, right?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, no, I love that so much how you mentioned earlier that it's like being a doctor. And that's actually a similar way that I kind of attribute being in this industry, but especially for the very unique and very in demand roles that YellowTail Tech trains people in. Because most of y'all, those of y'all that are not in the tech industry, especially if you're not in like really high demand roles like what YellowTail Tech trains people in, many times you learn your job, and then after you learn your job, that's it. You just learn your job. You know, even if you transition from one company to another, many times you just kind of use the exact same skills and that's it, and you don't really have to skill up very much. That's a huge part of the reason why other industries don't pay as well, is because it's a lot easier for them to get someone, do a 1 or 2 weeks of training, and if you leave or they get someone else, they can easily like fill that role in pretty quickly. So many times people want to be paid a certain amount, but you don't realize that the reason why you're not being paid a certain amount, like get paid, being a Linux administrator or being a cloud administrator, is because it's so easy for them to train someone else or really replace you. The beauty about roles like this is that because these are roles where it's not something where they could just kind of quickly, easily train someone. And so the
Yep.
beauty of it is that when you have the training of a program like YellowTail Tech, you're really unique. And that's part of the reason why they pay you so well, but it's also a huge part of the reason as to why there are so many opportunities that are available to you. But just like she mentioned, it's important that you don't treat it like other jobs where you're like, okay, I finished this training, so cool, I'm set. Yeah, kind of, sorta. But you don't want to treat it that way. You want to treat it like a doctor, and that's realistically why you are being paid, or why you will be getting paid on par with
And
how
and
much many
another
doctors are
reason
making.
Another
Mhm.
reason why I like to compare it to a doctor's job is because
Mhm.
we have a very high responsibility. Like,
Yeah.
normally we have the keys to the kingdom. Like,
Uh-huh.
if we don't do our job well, our companies can lose money. They can be vulnerable to cyber attacks, to many things.
Yeah.
So that's another reason why they pay us so well and they expect so much from us.
Man. Oh yeah, you know, I didn't even think about that, but that is true because the fact
So
of you
so
having
think
like
about it.
keys to
Like,
the cloud.
a data analyst, they need to
Mhm.
know less tools. They don't have that many responsibilities. But then
Mhm.
a Linux admin, they have important passwords. They have a lot of power, like privileges in an IT
Mhm.
network. They have to maintain systems up and running because literally, if, let's say we're the US Patent Office, if the servers at the US Patent Office are down for 1 hour, that department of the government loses millions of dollars.
Yo.
So
For 1 hour?
of course they have to pay us well.
Yeah. Man. That's crazy.
Um,
That's incredible. Now that makes a lot of sense. Oh, somebody
the
just oh go ahead.
Yeah, the other thing I wanted to mention is that, like, probably recruiter cousin knows about this, but when in an environment they're searching for a Linux admin or a cloud admin, they talk about unicorns.
Mhm.
So a unicorn is that person
Oh,
that
you're
has a
saying oh,
a
okay, go ahead.
combination of skills that is so unique that it's very
Yeah.
difficult to find.
Mhm.
And the reason why that happens is because one environment may use one combination, like one tech stack, which is like the tools that they use there. And then another environment may use another one. So, as a professional, we have to kind of know how to navigate the differences between one tool or another. So, a common way to see this is in a job description, they'll say that they want you to know Python,
Mhm.
but you know Ruby or you know Bash, whatever.
Mhm.
Can you ramp up to learn what they need you to learn? Can you bring out the similarities between one language and another? Can you say how little or how much you know about Python? So that's also important in our business.
All right, someone asked a moment ago, they asked, is there, so for cloud administrators, they said, what does a cloud administrator do? And they asked, is there coding involved?
Okay. So
Mhm.
first of all, a cloud environment is basically an IT environment that leverages cloud services. And those cloud services tend to be offered by a third party company like Amazon, with AWS,
Yeah.
like Microsoft with their Azure cloud, or
Yeah.
like Google with GCP.
Mhm.
So what a cloud admin does is they deploy workloads in the cloud, they maintain them, they monitor them,
Mhm.
they deploy changes to them. So that's if applications are being developed in the company you work for, these deployments tend to be very frequent. You may also be hosting other workloads that support your environment that need to be patched, like they need security updates. You need to manage storage on them. You need to manage performance on them. You need to manage cost. So operating in the cloud has been a significant shift from traditional IT to this new types of environment, because in traditional IT environments, things were just procured ahead of time and you would have like all that available to you. But now, with cloud, you kind of pay as you go, so there's always a
Yeah.
bill that you have to be tracking. You have to optimize things. You also have to
Mhm.
secure in different ways than you did when you had them on prem. The
Okay.
second part of the question was if there's coding.
Yeah.
um, there can be. I've met cloud admins that know how to code and others that don't. The way what we do our coding for is way more simpler than what a developer codes for. So basically, we write scripts to automate things. So that is coding, and it tends to happen with Bash or Python, but it doesn't have the level of complexity that a developer goes through to develop a full application.
Okay, cool. That makes a lot of sense. And is some of that, I think it's called scripting. I could be wrong because I don't code at all. But is some of that scripting, is training for that, is some of that offered, or like how much of that is touched on during the training with YellowTail Tech?
Yeah, we offer training for that. Actually, our students learn Terraform, which is a deployment tool where you have to code whatever you're trying to deploy. And we also offer Python training, so specifically connected to Amazon service called Lambda. So they see about 8 weeks of coding.
Man, I wish I knew about YellowTail Tech when I was working to get in tech, because I don't know how to code at all. Like I don't even know anything. And I, just like you mentioned about being a unicorn, I'm like, man, I would be such a unicorn if I had some of that training as well, and how that would allow me to stand out and really be unique. That is fire. That's super. That's incredible. That is incredible.
Yeah, we're really proud. I'm actually super proud about some of our younger students. Like we've had kids who literally drop out of college and are like looking for their next thing. And then they come to us, they finish the program, they get employed, and you see them making 6 figures at 24. Like,
incredible.
All I can think of is, what are you going to be doing when you're 34?
Exactly. Oh, yes. I say that all the time. Whenever I see people that are that just get into the tech industry, especially when they're younger, I have this quote that I say, hey, this is your new floor. Like this is your new, like this is where you're at now. As long as you are diligent, as long as you're disciplined, as long as you're networking, as long as you're just doing what you need to do, it's like what you can be making in the next 5 years, 10 years will just be almost unimaginable. Like it's just really will be incredible. And so, students getting in as a Linux administrator or cloud administrator, not students, but people in their early 20s, getting in that kind of career at such a young age is incredible. That's fire.
So,
that's super fire.
Actually, some of them, like they want to talk to us at the beginning. Their parents want to talk to us, and the parents are like still like, no, we want them to go back to college. And I'm like, listen, they can do this, get a job, and then have their employer pay for college. Like going for a technical route does not have to end the college experience or like give it closure for the rest of their lives. And they can do it with less debt. So that's something positive. And also
exactly
the other thing that people don't see is we're sending our kids to college super early without a clue of what they're going to be doing in real life. Then they go to college. College is teaching them a bunch of stuff that are necessary and unnecessary, because colleges are not agile enough to evolve,
to make
with
changes
the market.
to keep up.
Exactly. So then they go into the job market. 1, they can't find a job. 2, they can't find a job that pays well. And 3, they end up having to go for technical courses regardless.
Exactly.
So I think some parents, we need to change the way we see this and look at these other new avenues.
Yeah, a lot of their thinking is very traditional because, and y'all let me know in the comments, like, what are y'all thoughts on this? Like how y'all feel about this or your perspective? Because what I've seen, and from my vantage point, and Paloma's kind of touching on this as well, is that many parents, because it's not all, but many parents, they have this thinking that says, hey, in order to be successful in life, you need to have a 4-year college degree. Many of them half the time don't even really care what it's in, as long as you have a 4-year college degree. But just like Paloma mentioned, the difference within college curriculums versus something like what YellowTail Tech offers is all of that debt, that $60, $80, $100,000 plus in debt, of student loan debt, as well as it taking up 4 years of your life just to get that education. And then the majority of careers and education that's given in college is not even something that at the end of the day is going to land people high paying roles. And so that's what I love about what YellowTail Tech is offering, and programs that are similar, because of it offering something that, okay, you're not going to be in 20, 30, 40, $50,000 in debt. You're not going to, it's not going to take you 4+ years. And also, whether you're doing Linux administration, or let's say you've gotten some of that training and you want to do, like, you want to go to the cloud side of things, it's like you are guaranteed. I can't guarantee it, but if you just look at the market, the roles are starting people out at 80 to 90,000. Some people even a little bit over $100,000, like Paloma was able to start out at. So I love this so much. I see Shanae just commented. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, we had a student this year start at like 160. It took him 8 months to find a job, but then he went as a senior. So
wait, it took him 8 months, but he started out, his first job started him in a senior position.
Yeah.
Whoa.
So basically
that is incredible.
He was applying to junior entry-level roles, and he was all overqualified for those. And in other cases, he would apply to higher level roles, and they would say, you don't have the experience for that. But then his day came, and he got a senior role and $160,000.
That's incredible, man. Look, let me know, what would y'all think about that if your first job in tech, you start out at $160,000? I say that's incredible. That's incredible. I love that. I love stories like that. So I want to honor everybody's time. I want to honor Paloma's time. I know a lot of y'all have been sending questions in. We want to make sure we have some time to get to y'all's questions. So we're going to shift over to the questions. I'm seeing some comments from people asking, what is the name of the school? So it's YellowTail Tech is the name of the school. When it comes to being able to get that $500 discount into their program, whether the Linux administrator or as a cloud administrator, just comment the word or the phrase Linux admin, or it's easier to spell, just comment cloud admin. So if you comment cloud admin, myself or somebody from the Tech is the New Black team will send over to you the discount link to their program for literally both roles. So that way you can look at both roles. You can choose which one is the best fit for you, depending on your personal goals. So yeah, and again, it's YellowTail Tech Bootcamp. But we're gonna transition over and get to these questions. A quick rundown. I know there's a few people on here, so a quick rundown for people that popped in. So again, they offer Linux admin or cloud admin training. They've trained over 1,000 students. They're actually in the top 500 of the Inc. 5,000 fastest growing companies in the United States, and which of course reflects just how successful they've been as a company. Also, they're A+ accredited by the Better Business Bureau, which says a lot about their reputation, a lot about the testimonials from their graduates, with roughly 70% of their graduates being hired after 6 months of their program, 80% after a year. So literally 4 out of 5 people landing just these incredible roles in the tech industry. I love it so much. I love stuff like this. I'm excited just to hear about a lot of y'all that are watching this live, giving us testimonies later on about you getting your tech job through YellowTail Tech. So, all right. So first question we're going to jump to is, can I do this from Canada?
No. So for the moment, we only train people in the United States. The reason for that is here is where we have our financing partners available. And second, we only have experience placing people in jobs in the United States. So we wouldn't want to give you any false hopes that we can place you into a job in a market that we don't know.
Yeah. One thing, and y'all can see this even by her answer right there. One thing that if y'all look online and y'all see other like tech influencers like myself talking about YellowTail Tech, one of the things that many of them are excited about with them is just their level of integrity and their level of just like giving realistic answers and perspectives. And so there are different programs that are out here that are accepting anybody into their program, even though they know the likelihood of them getting a person, or them, even though they know that the likelihood of that person getting a job after their program is very low, they'll still take people's money. So I love the fact that Paloma's answer really saying, hey, look, we like to just kind of keep it to where we know we have the highest probability of helping people land roles the fastest after the program. So thank you for that, Paloma. So make sure y'all are putting your questions in. Those of y'all that are on Instagram, make sure you're putting your questions in the question section. If you comment your question,
I saw an interesting question that I'd like to answer. It was somebody from LinkedIn who's a PMP, and he's asking if he can leverage his project management knowledge in Linux. And yes, definitely yes. And that's one of the things that helped me grow my career. I am really big on sharing that I had a previous career, and you cannot imagine how much that is needed in a tech environment where most of the people tend to have very similar experiences and like they've been around for long. So it's like an echo chamber in the teams where their opinions are similar, the way they operate are similar. So when you come with a different perspective, with a different career, you're going to enrich the team where you're in. Like, one of the things that helped me was the fact that I could translate between two teams. Like, I was always in the middle of the people that the teams that wanted some new feature or something to be added to an application, or like a new security tool, and the teams actually making this happen. And we could be in meetings for 10 hours. They weren't talking to each other. So I would go to them and be like, what are your requirements? And then I would go to the other side and be like, what are the things that don't allow us to build these requirements? And then we would work from that. So I think bringing that to the table is definitely positive. And it will be valued in the interviews.
Okay, good stuff. So let's get to some of these other questions. Yeah, she answered the questions about the U.S. residences already.
And yes, our program does have an internship component.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So someone's she spoke earlier about, we want to try to highlight questions that she didn't already address while we were talking earlier, just for the sake of everyone's time. Someone says she's such an inspiration. Thank you for that, Atalia.
Thank you.
All right. So let's get to some of these other questions. All right. So someone's asking, how many jobs can you work at once as a Linux administrator or cloud administrator? So I guess they're talking about job stacking. Would you recommend, off the record, even though this is clearly on the record because everybody's watching, but do usually cloud administrators or Linux administrators, do they job stack?
I've seen it done. I don't recommend it. I actually think we should work smarter, not harder. If you have the time, why don't you just keep getting certs and learning new things and building up that career?
Exactly.
But yeah, there's everything out there.
Yeah, I agree with that entirely. For those that don't know what job stacking is, some people call it overemployment. They're somewhat the same thing, but basically there are some people that usually if you're working remote in tech, some people will work for 2, maybe even 3 companies at a time. And I understand why some people do it, especially people that are in deep debt and they're working to get out of debt. But some people just do it as a way to make sure they're making like $250,000, but they have little to no life. They're incredibly burnt out. And just like Paloma said, those people tend to be the ones that they tend to be underperforming at their companies compared to other people on their team that have more time.
Yeah,
And
you basically have to get many entry level roles in order to be able to do it, because if you have any like high level of responsibility, you won't be able to juggle 2 or 3 jobs, or you're going to have to work 16 hours a day.
Yeah, exactly.
Cyrus, I want to remind you the Instagram timer.
The time. Thank you. I appreciate that. All right. So, we'll answer this last question on Instagram, and then we're going to have to hop off of Instagram, and then we're going to shift over to YouTube and LinkedIn. So for those that want to continue where we're going to be answering the final questions on here, we're going to be on YouTube and LinkedIn. Make sure that y'all transition over, because we have to hop off of Instagram before Instagram times us out. But the question is, and if it starts to get close to the time, I'm just going to still end the Instagram. We'll continue to answer over here, Paloma. But the question is, someone asked, they say, how do I know where to start between Linux administrator or cloud administrator? Which one should I start at, or how do I know which one to start at?
Okay. So fortunately, we have people that can help you make that decision. So the first thing I would advise you to do is to learn about both of our programs. You can schedule a call with our career advisors, and they'll walk you through all the differences. Basically, the differences rely on like what's your starting level of knowledge of basic computers. We have an aptitude test for that, so that's also gonna define which program you can apply to. The second thing is, how many months can you commit to this? One program is 6 months, the other program is 9 months, and then obviously both programs have an internship. So if you need to change your life in 6 months, Linux is for you. If you have a year, then cloud. If
I could pause you real quick, Paloma, I need to wrap up this IG Live. Okay. For those that just hopped on IG Live and are asking where we're going over to, the YouTube channel is Tech is the New Black. Tech is the New Black. Just head over there. You can join in with us for the remainder of this conversation. Bring your questions when you come over. Also, if you DM me or you comment anywhere on my page, Cloud Admin or Cloud Administrator, either Cloud Administrator or Cloud Admin, myself or someone from the Tech is the New Black team will send you a DM with the information for YellowTail Tech, as well as a $500 off discount link. So love y'all. God bless. Join us over here on YouTube, Instagrams.
Thanks for joining us.
All right, cool. So so if you can please continue. All right. So we are all right, good stuff. So if you could please continue with your answer. So you mentioned, so just kind of bring us back. So you mentioned 6 months for Linux. If someone has 6 months of time for Linux administrator, you said 9 months to roughly a year, or if they want to do cloud. So really a lot of it is based on their own personal bandwidth and or maybe kind of which skill level that they want to be at.
Yeah. And their starting skill level.
Okay, cool. And I'm just
I hear an echo for myself. Good.
Oh, it sounds good to me. I don't hear an echo at all.
All right. So what opportunities for multilingual people are there in tech related to language? That's an interesting question. And I've seen opportunities for multilingual jobs. Like a big employer for that kind of stuff tends to be Amazon itself for AWS. So basically, they have customers all over the world that are going to need tech support at like an engineering or admin level. So their support teams need to have people that work from different places and that have different languages. And that tends to pay well. There's also companies that sell technology. So there's a bit of an intersection between tech sales and engineering, where they'll also be able to leverage people with different languages.
All right, good stuff. Yeah, that's a really great question. I actually was going to ask that question earlier about the opportunities for multilingual people. So make sure y'all are dropping y'all's questions so that way we can get to it. Somebody said overemployment. Were you asking, Lisa? I mean, we already answered that, or were you just asking if that's how it's spelled? Either way, you spelled it correctly when we said overemployment. Okay, great question. So I don't know if you saw this question with Jalen. They said, based on current trends, what predictions do you have for the future of Linux in terms of technology, adoption, and community development? Very interesting question.
It's not going anywhere. So
Yeah.
Linux powers the cloud. Linux powers most of the enterprise level applications out there. And it's actually it's like the main open source community that exists, period. So it's going to keep growing. Actually, most of the new things that are changing in the industry, like containers and stuff like that, are Linux development. So I don't see that sunsetting anytime soon.
Yeah. So to explain this to people that for those of y'all that are like, okay, you're hearing about the cloud, you're hearing about containers, all of these things, and I don't know how to do the stuff that she's talking about. But that being said, I can kind of explain it to y'all in a way from a person that doesn't know how to do it. So we all know that we're all familiar with the cloud at this point, not the physical cloud, but we all know that, you know, if you have an iPhone or if you have some type of business or software, that many times your data will be stored in what's called the cloud. It's basically a virtual version of like a data center or like a storage center. So imagine like you're storing all of your information, whatever, maybe it's videos, maybe it's photos, maybe it's like a document, whatever that might be. You're storing your digital information in a digital version of a storage center or a cloud. The entire tech industry, specifically the software industry, there are 3 major cloud providers that she mentioned earlier. As far as I know, I don't know if they're the only 3, but they're the only 3 that I know about. I know
there are more.
Oh, wow, that's crazy. So the 3 largest cloud providers are AWS, which is Amazon Web Services. Yes, they're owned by Amazon, or it's a separate company, but it's basically Amazon, which most people don't know. That's actually how Amazon makes most of their money. Amazon makes more money through AWS, which most of y'all probably don't know about, than they do through the Amazon store. So AWS, Google Cloud Provider, or GCP, and then the other one is Microsoft Azure, which is also a huge source of Microsoft's income. And so those are the 3 major cloud providers. What she was mentioning with Linux being so important when it's saying how this is not going to go away, it's because in order, and I don't want to oversimplify this, but basically in order to be able to operate or make certain changes or certain adjustments, and Paloma, please correct me how I'm explaining this, but in order to operate or make certain adjustments, in order for companies, especially like higher level companies, to be able to operate or have teams that can operate properly when it comes to the cloud, they need these Linux administrators. They need cloud administrators in order to be able to do that. And understand, as we always talk about, there are always new tech companies popping up every day. There are always new tech companies that are growing, that are scaling, that are becoming bigger and larger. Also, there are other different types of cloud providers that apparently are coming up. So that's why we see there being a constant demand and even increase for these types of roles. So in order for these roles to go away, it would have to be almost an entire industry-wide shift across almost all tech companies, or most tech companies, which is something that would take probably about a decade or more, which companies are not going to want to make all of those shifts and all of those changes, especially since Linux is working so exceptionally well. How did I do?
You're on point.
Thank you.
So
Thank you.
I see another question. Do we offer a program, a cloud security program? No, we don't offer a cloud security program specifically, but in our cloud program, you learn quite a bit of cloud security. So it's like transversal to the whole training.
Yeah, thank you, Shanae. Shanae said, yeah, speaking of AWS, it's a subsidiary of Amazon. Thank you. That's a proper way to describe it. Okay, cool. So someone asked, they said, can you get involved while having a 9 to 5, or do you need to invest more time?
You can definitely do it. I would say 97% of our students are employed and are doing this part time. So all our classes happen from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. And you have to put in some extra work. Most of them do pre-work during weekends and do like homework and stuff when they don't have classes, because classes tend to be twice a week, though there's other opportunities to get support from TAs and like study groups and stuff like that.
All right, good stuff, good stuff. All right, y'all. So I don't see any other questions, but I will kind of reiterate something for those that are just popping in while we kind of wait for a couple other questions. We are going to wrap up in a couple of minutes. So there's 1 or 2 other questions. Please go ahead and drop them now before we wrap up. So again, so she's speaking on behalf of YellowTail Tech, where they are a educational school that trains people in being a cloud administrator or being a Linux administrator. I don't know why I keep want to say system administrator. It's like
it's a Linux system administrator. Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool. All right, so Linux system administrator. So now they provide training and education when it comes to that. Landing roughly 70% of their students or their graduates land roles after 6 months after the program. And so they are like highly rated when it comes to the Better Business Bureau A+ accreditation. I've actually never heard of anyone having an A+ accreditation. That's really incredible. And so really high in demand role in tech. Y'all know that's usually what I try to talk about. But honestly, these are probably higher than any of the roles that I typically talk about. Just really high demand, which y'all know is something that's incredibly, incredibly important. And so next question that popped up from D. Mitchell. Is there an average timetable your students land a job after doing your programs? Okay, I kind of addressed that, but I'll allow Paloma to still answer that.
Yeah, so at about 6 months after our students complete their internship, we see like a 60 to 70% success rate. And then at a year, it jumps up another 10%. And believe me, we are working to increase that because we want to get those numbers higher. One of the issues we have now that we're addressing is the fact that we have students in every corner of the U.S. So we're trying to build partnerships with companies all over the country. We're trying to have more of our students try to get security clearances so that they can get government opportunities. So we're actively working on increasing that, and we're not doing bad at all.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And something that I'll say, and this isn't, again, what I'm about to say is on behalf of Cyrus. I'm not speaking on behalf of YellowTail Tech. I'm speaking on behalf of Cyrus. But something I really want to encourage y'all in is that understand as much as YellowTail Tech goes above and beyond to really put their students and put their alumni in the best position possible. At the end of the day, the other aspect is yourself, making sure that you are taking it serious, that you are really putting in the work yourself and not treating it as if it's hey, give me a job in tech, but hey, I'm coming ready to work. I'm taking this serious. I seriously want this opportunity to be able to get in this industry to transform my life and transform the life of my family. And I'm ready to go. It's really a marriage between you and YellowTail Tech, to where if you come ready, come willing, come hungry, then the opportunity is there for you. All right, so I guess last, Charles, if you just comment the word or comment the phrase cloud administrator or cloud admin, myself or somebody on the Texas New Black team will send you over a link with the breakdown and information of YellowTail Tech. So that way you can get like accurate information. That's for anybody when it comes to it. Jalen, and this is probably going to be the last question we're going to get to, then we're going to wrap it up. Jalen said, can you share an example of organizations that have successfully leveraged Linux to achieve their business goals? That's a lot of organizations, but yeah.
Yeah, I'm not even sure how to answer that.
Yeah.
I would say, Jalen, about 60% of the applications that run on servers run on Linux.
Yeah.
So the alternative to Linux is actually Microsoft. And Microsoft tends to be used more for workstations, for servers that support things that happen on workstations. So for instance, any enterprise of any size will have a file server. So basically where things get backed up from everybody's computer. If there's a printers in the environment, that will also be a Windows server. But everything else tends, at least at a corporate level, tends to be Linux servers.
Okay, good stuff. Good stuff. All right, y'all. So we are gonna go ahead and wrap up. Again, for everyone who is interested, there are a lot of people that were commenting cloud admin and Linux admin. So I know it's going to be a lot of people that have shown that they're very interested. For those of y'all that are also interested, just make sure you comment either cloud admin or Linux admin. And myself or someone from the Texas New Black team will send you over the information, the discount link, so that we can get $500 off of YellowTail Tech's courses. And yeah, please keep us posted on your journey. Let us know, those of y'all that end up landing roles through doing YellowTail Tech. We would love to bring you on so that way you can share your testimony, share your experience, all of that with our audience and community. Paloma, thank you so very much for coming on here, for just being transparent.
This was fun.
It was really, really great. Y'all chill out. Paloma's married. Calm down. She's a married woman. Yeah, you must have popped in late to the stream. It's okay though. No shade. It's okay. But yeah, y'all. Thank you so much, Paloma, for coming on. This is really great. I love y'all. Also check out. I did a interview with her husband as well, Juby, and so really incredible story. Just everything that YellowTail Tech is doing is just really phenomenal. Y'all are going to be hearing a lot more from them because not only are they just a really great program, but the way that they operate when it comes to integrity, there are a lot of people that usually don't talk about tech boot camps or don't talk about tech ed programs like theirs that are starting to talk about YellowTail Tech because of the way that they operate. There are people that are very cautious about promoting programs, and all the colleagues that I know that are in tech that never talk about any tech boot camp or tech educational program, they're all talking about YellowTail Tech because of just how solid the program is and how they operate. So y'all definitely check them out. Paloma, I look forward to more from you, Juby, and YellowTail Tech. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me, and thanks everybody for joining us.
All right, guys, y'all have a wonderful, beautiful night. God bless.